Mani, which is a network of 83 Italian NGOs working active in the field of human rights. And it is a group of, let's say, multidisciplinary NGOs, and we don't have any kind of structure. We are, in turn, we host the Comitato within our NGO. I am specifically from Fondazione Basso, which is one of the member organizations. We have been working, and we have been within the FRP since the beginning, and we have been somehow even contributing in the construction of this experience. I will not go too much in detail in the details of FRA and what is FRA and how it works, because you've been having all this information till now. But I need to attach slightly to some of the items at international level. When we're talking of human rights, we know that at international level we have a set of institutions where we, as civil society, can access to give our contribution or to discuss or to somehow interact. But what is typical is that our position within these structures, within these institutions, is not really a very independent or very equal-based relationship. For instance, we have the United Nations, within which we have the possibility of having action, for instance, within the Human Rights Council. I'm referring to the UPR exercise. I don't know how many of you have been working on this, but civil society can somehow contribute in the various steps, but within very precise limitations. We have very, very tight rules. We have the same situation with regard to treaty bodies. Depending on the different treaty bodies, we have the possibility of presenting, for instance, submission of information, participating in some discussions, and so on. Also, if we go at European level, we find situations where the civil society can somehow access, but it's always within very specific limitations. Same goes with Council of Europe. And finally, we have at European level the fundamental rights, which foresees the specific mechanism of the fundamental rights platform. I'm not going to go into it because this we've heard a lot of it. Just to recall it, what more or less the fundamental rights platform is. But what I'm interested in highlighting now is what it is for us, from our point of view, besides what is indicated in the regulations of FRA. So, it is contacts, which we are doing. It is exchange of experiences. It's knowledge. It's policy making, comparison with similar situations, advocacy, forum, networking, but even more. What I'm trying to say is, it offers us the possibility of getting together, for instance, once or twice or what it is a year, and to interact and to start working among ourselves at various levels, both at international level, but also at national level. So, for instance, what happened with Italy? In the case of Italy, we had the opportunity of starting to work here, to come to know, to know basically similar situations or specific researches, studies that were carried out that could be used at national level. And not only, it was also an opportunity for us to network also at the level of our Italian other NGOs. So, for instance, through the work that was being brought ahead here, we could also start networking, for instance, with other NGOs that were not within our Comitato per la Promozione e Protezione dei Diritti Umani. But even more we could do, we could start working on specific actions that could be vehiculated through FRA. For instance, we tried strongly and we obtained an official visit of the FRA director in Rome, which had obviously an official action. So he was coming to meet it gave us also the opportunity of organizing a meeting with the civil society. So that was a strong moment. That was a strong moment to make, first, on one side, known to the Italian civil society that FRA existed and it did something, and on the other hand, to pull in and to get together with other Italian NGOs that were, as us, active on the field of human rights. So we had, as a final output of this first step, an increase in awareness of the Italian civil society at various levels, and we had an increase of the NGOs, Italian NGOs, participating in FRD, in the platform. If you see the data of the previous years, you will see it, that the little mark of the Italian NGOs participating from the beginning went strongly high. So this is the first proof that this type of intervention will give you a strong return. Then what we have been using a lot is organizing through our network of NGOs, so through the various types of NGOs. I told you that we have a multidisciplinary approach. So we have NGOs within our network that work on specific types of, let's say, human rights. For instance, we have NGOs working with minors. We have NGOs working with migrants. We have NGOs working with the prisons and asylum-seeking problems. We have NGOs working with mafia. So this gives us the opportunity of utilizing this multidisciplinary approach in organizing events specific that can be also linked to the various reports and studies that FRA carries on in various areas. As an example of this, maybe more or less a year ago, a big 2-day international conference was organized in Milan at the University Bicocca, which is one of the main Italian universities, where also FRA, Morten Thiel was invited. So we had an opportunity of having a half-day totally devoted to what FRA was doing and how we were using it in the country. And again, we had the possibility of working more on this, conveying the information of what was going on what could be done with what was going on. And then we found ourselves that we were provided, through all of this exercise, of specific materials that could be used specifically in the country to advocate to specific problems we were facing. For instance, a very important research was made by FRA about the Rom situation in Italy, and it was about Rom in a camp called Ponticelli in southern Italy, which was specifically carried out for that situation, and that research was presented in Italy and distributed by our network through meetings, and it brought to a similar research that has been just now completed by the Senate of our republic, which is quite particular because you know that we are going through, in our country, through a political, quite difficult moment. So having a report specifically targeted on the Roma, made by the Senate of the Republic is definitely a strong, let's call it victory in terms of advocacy. So we strongly believe of the use that the civil society can do of the reports that are prepared by FRA, as I don't know how many of you know that these reports, more than being targeted on one country, they are at European level. So you have case studies, you have a mapping of the situation, which is a very powerful instrument if you're talking in terms of advocacy, especially when you're working in a situation in a country where you have a political difficult reality.